Welcome to Cape Media News, and this is Candid Candidates. Today I am joined by Chris Lauzon, Republican candidate for the Cape and Islands State Senate seat.
It can be a bit of a mouthful sometimes, yes, but you got it.
All right. So, Chris, what can you tell us about yourself? A little bit, just where you're from, how you got to
where I am.
Sitting here today.
Excellent. Oh, I appreciate you having me down here. So I was born on the Cape Cod Hospital, grew up in Barnstable in the village of Marston's Mills. And, you know, one of four kids, the youngest of four, went to Barnstable High School. After that, went off to Louisiana State University. I wanted to be an archaeologist, actually, so I have a degree in anthropology. Did some excavating overseas, but it's a lot easier to volunteer for that stuff than it is to get paid. So I ended up coming back to the Cape, worked for the fast ferries over to the islands for a few years. Highline, great company to work for. After that, I got involved in the family business. I'm an auto mechanic at a shop in Hyannis, third generation. It's actually where I met my wife. She came in for an oil change, and she must have liked the service because we got married, and we've got four kids. The oldest is actually in college now, and our youngest is in kindergarten.
Ooh, that's a big spread.
Yes.
I thought mine, I got a 1-year-old and a 9-year-old, almost 9-year-old. I thought that was a big one.
Yeah, well, the more you have, the harder it gets, but that's all right. So I've got some time to go.
So what would you say was your biggest factor that led you into wanting to get into the world of politics?
It's a great question. I mean, I think a lot of people have kind of an interest in politics and what's going on around them. A lot of us are busy, so it's difficult to get involved. But I've always been politically inclined. I've always followed what's going on. I remember the first presidential race I remember is Clinton versus Dole in '96. I remember seeing that on TV. And since then, I've always kind of paid attention to what was going on. But I had never been directly involved until 2022, coming out of the pandemic. We just had our youngest child a couple of years earlier. Really, things didn't feel right, with what's going on. The state seemed to continue to be going down the wrong path. So I decided I wanted to do something about that. I had never, like I said, been involved in politics at all, but kind of just jumped in with both feet. I thought about running for state rep first, but after the 2020 census, I got redistricted. So I'm now in Steve Exaros' state rep district. And being a Republican, I wasn't going to run against him. So there was no Republican on the state Senate side for the Cape and Islands race at that time, so I jumped in, put my name on the ballot. We got through a primary in that race, had a really, really good result at the end of that primary. Came up short in November, but I feel like all the same issues we talked about then are still going on now, so I pretty much knew I was going to do it a second time, and that's how I got here.
Jumping back to being a third-generation auto mechanic.
Yes.
What do you think that profession specifically, how do you think it would help, the skills you learn there will help you as a politician?
Well, every day I go to work, I have to fix something or I don't get paid. So
what we normally see, it seems like things don't get fixed and they still get paid.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a big problem. Something, as big as the budget every year, it's never done on time. 14 years in a row, the state has not had the budget done by the deadline. And that's unacceptable to me. So something that, I feel you shouldn't get paid if you're not doing your job up there. As a legislator, if you're not meeting these deadlines, you shouldn't get paid. So, the budget should be done on time. It's the same time every year, so there's no excuse not to get it done by that date. And like I said, 14 years in a row, they haven't had it done on time. It's just unacceptable to me. So, coming from a business, a small family business, I mean, I know what it takes to make a living on the Cape. I know how hard it is. I know how hard people have to work just to get by. So I'm going to definitely bring that with me. I think we need more people who have that real world experience making decisions up in Boston for us.
Would you say that generally a lot of people that talk about the family unit, strong family, that's something that leads them into the conservative side of the political arena. Would you say that's something that guided you towards being conservative?
Yeah, I mean, my family's pretty mixed ideologically, but yeah, I did grow up in a strong, nuclear family, one of 4 kids, parents married, all of that, typical household, traditional household, I suppose. But all of my siblings do not agree with my political leanings, though. So, like I said, it's a very mixed bag, even within my own family. So, I think really, our personal experiences shape who we become as we grow older, and what our beliefs are. And I guess my experience has just, lent me towards a more conservative path. Like I said, even as a child, I was interested in politics and interested in things that were going on around me. And I just immediately fell into the conservative path, Big fan of a lot of conservative politicians that we've had in the past, and being an anthropology major, I mean, I'm kind of a student of history, so I would name people a lot of other people probably haven't heard of, like Calvin Coolidge, and strong Massachusetts Republican, great president, very unknown today, but kind of a political hero of mine.
And going back to, you talked about having even siblings in your own family that you don't really agree with politically. I think it's important that, especially today more than ever, that we are still able to talk with people and converse with people from different sides of the political spectrum.
Yes.
How do you do that with your family? Is it touchy? Is it?
It can be, like with anyone, some of these topics can instill, strong emotions in people. But I try to take the emotional part of it out of any of those discussions, because we all can get, caught up in our beliefs. But it's very important to step back and look at it, not on a personal level, but on the policy level. So, one of my sisters, she doesn't live on the Cape anymore, but, definitely ideologically on the opposite side. But in the 2022 election, she actually came to the Cape and helped me. She was holding signs. She was very supportive. It's important, like you said, to be able to have these conversations, have differences of opinion, but still be respectful and still recognize, people who are doing the right thing. She recognizes that I'm in it for the right reasons. She doesn't agree with all of my policies, but, she's very supportive of me anyway. And I appreciate that. And I think we're lacking that, especially on the national level right now. So I try to separate local politics from national as much as possible, because I don't really want that vitriol from the national level coming into the Cape. That has no place in our politics as far as I'm concerned.
That's something that I've been speaking with other reps and senators in the last couple of years. They say about the Cape Cod delegation is even though they're Republican and Democrats, they're a very tight-knit group. And I think that's a very important thing to have, especially in the further away you get from national politics. Is like it's not so much important if it's a Republican or a Democrat. Like, you got community, you're working for your community at that point.
Absolutely, and I like to say, people have asked me before in the past, are you a Trump Republican? Are you a Baker Republican? And my answer is always, I'm a Cape Cod Republican. Most of these issues are not partisan. It's about doing the right thing, getting things done for the community. And a lot of people don't realize, a state senator or a state rep, you have your legislative duties, of course, but a big part of it is the community outreach, being there for your constituents, helping them. They'll come to you with a problem, who do I need to talk to get this resolved? And you can direct them to the right agency. You can talk to that agency for them, help them get their foot in the door to get things done. That's just as important as the legislative role.
Yeah, I would say, it feels like I see they're out in the community more than even really in the legislative side. I feel like, to me, that's more of like the bigger part of the job, even though you don't really get paid for that part of the job. But
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's something, we see in movies, Congress and all of them are in the room all at once. And that hardly ever happens up in the State House. Sometimes they'll all be in the room for a vote or whatever, but a lot of times they'll vote throughout the day. A few members will be in there voting, and the vote isn't all at once all the time. So, and they're not necessarily even in Boston every day of the week. So, there's a misconception out there that when you're a senator or a rep, you're in the chamber all day, all week long.
Right.
It's just not the case.
No, yeah, because especially Steve Azaros.
He's everywhere.
Yes. You blink and he's in 3 different places before you even know it.
I don't know how he does it, yeah. But I'm very fortunate because he is my state representative, and he's probably the hardest working state rep in the state, in my opinion.
Chris, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Yeah, thank you.
We'd love to have you back in the studio.
No, I appreciate it.